What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor. Thank you for tuning in for another fantastic live stream this Sunday evening. We're going to be discussing, like we normally do, a lot of the hot name stocks on the boards. We're going to be looking at. There's not much earnings coming out. There's not a lot of stuff heading out with financial and a lot of things due to the government shutdowns. The information is not accurate and or not being able to be received. Um, so without further ado, like we just talked about last week, especially with PLTR Palantir, that is it crashing? Is it going to zero? Whatever. Like people are potentially not 100% freaking out, but they could be a little bit scared. Especially what happened on Friday. Friday, we had a pretty large amount of sellers come in. What we mean by that is it's a pretty steep candle, basically opening up around 186 and closing at about 173. That's a pretty significant drop for a stock. I think it was down at the most, I think almost 14, 15 points. So it's down 7.5% in a single day. And especially on Friday is usually not the best look, to be quite honest. Ending the week pretty much lower. Basically, we count the candles going back, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, almost 11. So nearly 2 weeks of gains just were erased in one trading day. Is that to be worried about from my perspective? No. I'm not worried about it. This is just one day in the market. Um, if we look here, the only thing that we could kind of highlight a little bit is the amount of volume coming in. Um, that volume could have is a significant amount. What we mean by that is it's probably over double what we've seen over the on average the last like basically 20, 30 like trading days. Um, so we want to be keep an eye on that. If this breaks again coming into tomorrow, Monday, and we're seeing even more sellers and it's starting to close below the 50-day, that's when it starts going from like it's on warning. We're throwing a yellow flag. We're like, oh, hold up, what are you doing here, Palantir? Because we came crashing into the yellow line, which is the 50 SMA, the simple moving average, before, pretty with large volume, but then literally the next couple days, it held the 50-day very well, and it made its slowly claw back. The thing to highlight too is if you zoom out, let's go back to the weekly side. Look at this amazing run it's had. It's had some volatility, some days where it didn't perform as well due to people getting scared, people just maybe that when things get a little extended, especially above the 10 week here, which is the golden line of opportunity we call, it does to tend to pull back. But this is a huge liquid leader within the market, and it's pretty much heavily institutionally owned. So coming back to the 10 week or even the 50-day on the daily side, it is completely normal for it to happen, and that kind of structure to happen to see it play out. So with Palantir, it is basically hitting that 50-day or the 10 week here, completely normal. If we see a continuation, we start seeing it living below the 10 week line here on the weekly side. We start seeing it not performing well in the sense of a lot more red coming in, less blue volume days, and we're seeing the golden line opportunity start to curl over, not like level off. That's a little bit signs of concerning. You basically see that the purple box that I have here is basically highlighting the area where we potentially would like to have Palantir stay in. That's the box of purgatory. We're going to see if it potentially can stay in this frame here. If it can get the momentum to break higher, which it's trying to, but again, I don't have my crystal ball with me. that it potentially could not maybe break above the all-time highs around 190 and run to $200. I think in the future it definitely wants to, but there's a lot of volatility in the market. Things are slightly extended. We'll see what happens there. Another great stock that I wanted to talk about that really took off last week was the old Robinhood. Robinhood. Look at this amazing run from the beginning of the week, basically opening on 123, popping off, going all the way up to $148 in a week, right? That's insane. That is crazy, right? That's was it 26 odd some odd percent or something like that. That's a lot. That's a huge move in a stock of its size too. And this this is a beautiful pattern. It is. Where's my line here? It's not is not showing two lines of extension yet. It looks kind of far off. It has kind of been in this range before, but it seems when it gets more its momentum going, it can really kind of start curling and just kind of just continue to start floating up with a lot of the news behind it of the predictive markets performing very well. The gold cards, they have so much going on with themselves. They have the crypto stuff. They have that really cool stuff that they're kind of working with, like non IPO, like SpaceX shares, OpenAI shares they had in Europe, like that announcement, like that sold out insane fast. There's a lot of great things coming out of Robinhood, and look, if we're looking at earnings for 26, they're looking at 14% earnings and only 18% in sales. That seems a little sandbaggy-ish, and I think that they definitely can easily beat these numbers with how many things they're adding. And Vlad, the CEO of Robinhood, was on the All In podcast or the All In podcast summit with the crew, and was highlighting that they're firing on all cylinders. They are pushing the envelope. They're working with the administration on allowing uh, better understanding of what they mean by crypto, what they have to be insured by, and what their definitions and what they want to do. And really just opening up the floodgates and letting entrepreneurs be entrepreneurs, which I love. Um, let's look at the old, I'm talking about old, but Jensen Huang's stock, NVIDIA. This was interesting, right? Like this is, I can kind of get rid of, like, I guess I can move. Can I move that? No. I'm just gonna get rid of it. How do I get rid of this? Yeah. Trash. There we go. Yeah, we know that OpenAI did that great. Or like they're selling to OpenAI, but they also bought an OpenAI. They had like that meme that of like the rotating cash flow of like, I pay you, you pay me, let's be a happy family, um, and just kind of the spinning wheel of that. So with Nvidia, there's not really too much to say. Broke out this week to all time highs. It's looking very strong. Like if you've been in a coma for the last 3 years, Nvidia has been literally the king of the jungle. Um, it's I don't like to call formations, but this could be a very short digestion happening here and maybe kicking higher. Um, because if you look here on the daily side, it's kind of been digesting for quite some time here. And let me highlight that for you if you don't see it here. It's basically digesting here since basically, what is this? The 7th, so the end of like June, or sorry, July into August and most of September. It was basically just trading sideways, doing nothing, which is kind of equivalent what was going on in the market with QQQ. If we pull QQQ up, it broke out sooner, but it was kind of digesting around the same times, which is kind of normal, especially with the summer lulls of not many things are happening. There's not usually that many announcements. The higher times happen the beginning of the year, and then towards potentially the tail end, especially the fourth quarter. You can call it the Santa Claus rally. You can call it whatever you want to call it, the year-end rally, whatever. It has many different definitions, but it's usually. And what is also weird is we didn't have the September or early August. We're still in early October. That potential volatility pullback. Um, it's been very muted. Let's be honest. It's been very muted. Let's pull up the old SPY here. Go to the daily side. It's been holding the 21 day. Like that's pretty aggressive, for sure. Does that mean it cannot hold it for a much longer? It definitely can. Um, but just being somewhat mindful about like, hey, yeah, it's been holding this 21 day basically since it's broken out in the last part of last part of the end of April, and it's just been continually going, continuously just printing at a beautiful 35, maybe a 40-degree angle. Let's just call it a 45-degree angle here. Um, it's just been just slowly climbing up this beautiful little like escalator here. Just printing higher, coming to that 21 day, not really too much to look out for. So anything, the very first warning sign we'll be looking for is basically coming back to around like 660. So let's go ahead and put an alert there, so we can kind of get that looked at if that does occur. Um, yeah, there's nothing. Again, I don't want to pretend that I know what's going to happen or so forth, but just understanding of what potentially could happen is also a game plan. BE. Any of my fellows, people watching got into BE. This thing has been fantastic. We talked about it when it first kind of came on board. Not initially when I started streaming, but we talked about it in around like the mid 40s. We saw it really take off. This is a short squeeze that was in the making. It does make a pretty compelling product, but the real story, I believe, is really in the short squeeze. And it did help with that Oracle. They had a huge contract with Oracle. Then Oracle is in a lot of headlines now with the TikTok stuff, the huge expansions of data centers and how they're going to be migrating into that and so forth. That this stock has been gone gangbusters. And then again, this one is also pretty extended off the 21 day, but in a short squeeze, this can easily happen. We can see this go to $150. I don't know. Like that's it all comes down to the short squeeze of how that cycle can happen because you can have more people coming in here of like, oh, this the best way to put it is like the with GME. I'm not going to compare this to GME, but it's the same premise of a short squeeze and how people just look at it like, oh, this stock is overvalued. Let me go short it. But the short is maybe 25-30% of the outstanding shares and how that potentially can really make the yield or the price that the person shorting it has to pay, and then the size of what is able to short shrinks, and that creates that short squeeze where if the stock pops with any kind of buying or so forth, um, those short squeeze can basically have to buy at a higher price, which potentially basically adds oxygen into the fire, and those flames just continue to fly. We did talk about QQQ a little bit. We can that's this one I'm holding here. FXI, Chinese index here. This is also making an all-time high of last week. Not performing as well as the S&P 500, but this has been bouncing between the 50-day and the 21-day, which is completely normal in an upward trend. Spot is still on the spot of just kind of digesting, just really nothing to report here. Talking about just really boring consolidation here, of basically, I think it's since like May. Well, this is since April. Wow, April. Let's just call it here basically around end of May into June. It's just kind of been, it did have a little bit of a run, but it kind of consolidated right back down. And it's kind of just been bouncing around this range and really nothing to happen here, even with its earnings missing quite substantially, but kind of bouncing back into maybe that basic holding pattern here. Could we see this? This is one that I believe is going to be is still a pretty good move. It has had a pretty substantial run. Completely normal for it to kind of maybe trade sideways, take a break here. I didn't like the volume coming into Friday. As you can see here, it did kind of close to the lower end of the range here with some red bars coming in, which is not um, it's not bad yet. It's bad when it starts breaking because the right here on the daily side, we're looking at the 50-day and the 21-day are kind of like zigzagging around. Looks like a strain of DNA. This is not showing a potential movement either direction. It's not tiptoeing. It's not knocking on the ceiling here of the overhead resistance here. It's just kind of just bouncing around, meandering. Maybe you can call it a lost duck. It's just kind of swimming around the pond and trying to figure out which way it's going to go next. So I just want to see on how that one plays out. Speaking of one that was literally got slapped across the face, Reddit. This thing has been completely taken out to the woodshed and behind the barn and executed here. This is a pretty substantial move here. The stock has been performing fairly violent. On any kind of news, it just kind of just springboards up and down. But this with the news, I believe the news was like Reddit. It's not really that valuable to the various AI firms for source data and training data and so forth. So it kind of got pulled back into that. I don't know how true that is. If anyone out there has more information, would love to know. Um, that and because it pulled back here, because if you look here on the daily side, that aggressively broke through the 50-day, which is the golden line here. And then on the weekly side, it cut right through that golden line of opportunity of the 10-week side. This is living below a lot of quite consolidation of red days of just heavy selling. Um, maybe trying to build some kind of base here, and maybe trying to kick higher. We'll see what happens if it can maybe get back above 225 or 242. Maybe that's where maybe some more shorts could come in and kind of pound it some more. I think that could be something that could happen. Again, you have to there's always a give and take for a lot of these things. If it's that's a pretty fast mark down, which potentially could mean if that information becomes ill avoided or whatever of not true, that could snap back fairly fast, and basically erase those losses with a snap. So just be keep an eye on that. I don't have a position in that. We did talk about QQQ basically making an all-time high. Fantastic there. And I greatly appreciate if any of you anyone watching to hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that if you could do that. That helps with the algorithm. Speaking of helping the algorithm, look at Tesla. This we talked about this one last 2 weeks ago before prior for me getting sick with a terrible cough and a cold. We kind of made like these flag potential patterns. Maybe seeing it kind of trade sideways. We had it huge momentum of the news of Elon buying his own stock, moving it up quite substantially, and really just the news of what's going to happen. Are they going to be talking about robots? Are they going to be talking about a new factory? Are they going to be talking about the Roadster? Are they going to announce a new Cybertruck? I'm just made that up. That of what's going to happen. It's getting back to the all-time highs, which is this has been a very lagging stock as well. So really interesting to see. This is definitely a high flyer. This is a one that is basically running on jet fuel, no pun intended, not on batteries. But this one's definitely was extended on how fast it came out. But the last 2 days of the close of the last week were pretty much red, breaking, trying to get to all-time highs. I don't think it actually, yeah, didn't get up to the all-time high. Actually, I'm surprised I don't have an alert up there. Hit that alert there. And see how this one plays out. Like again, they have that news event happening the 7th of so 2 days on Tuesday. So we'll see how that one plays out. Let's go to Google. Google kind of just giving back just a little bit here. Kind of it came back strong in the last couple weeks due to good news. Now it's just kind of consolidating, which is somewhat common that we're seeing in a lot of these stocks going forth. Take-Two Interactive. So with EA being purchased by the private equity funds of the Middle East and other kind of a handful of other folks. This is basically, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is Unity or what are the other largest one is basically the other ones that are the last like largest like entertainment gaming companies. With Take Two again being they have like a couple of the sports games, but their main breadwinner is going to be Grand Theft Auto with Rockstar. Um, so you can see here, basically, they're not going to start making a substantial amount of money until 2027, which is basically when the game is supposed to be released. This thing has been a great play here. We basically talked about it way back when around 172. And it's been just kind of grinding higher here into all-time highs, making all-time highs of last week as well. Now going from a fantastic looking stock to kind of a slum dog here, with MicroStrategies, aka Strategies, aka Michael Saylor's Bitcoin wallet. This is something that is just kind of just perpetually very volatile. And it used to be somewhat linked to the price of Bitcoin, but now with Bitcoin, I think it was a couple days ago, or was it yesterday or Friday, making all-time highs. And this wasn't in key or really, it was sneezing yawn there of basically not being in step with the Bitcoin price, and it just kind of deviated from that. In that meaning that, hey, why is it disconnected? Like, this is literally Bitcoin, literally holding Bitcoin and leveraged a Bitcoin ETF in a sense. So that one's definitely interesting to watch. I keep it on the list because this was a beautiful gainer for me in 2024. So it just kind of stays on the list, and the correlation was good until a couple months ago. Um, Speaking of Credo was a stock that a lot of people went crazy about, being one of the important parts within the NVIDIA Blackwell and their expanding stuff in the data center, with their connectivity and throughput components and some of their technology. This thing completely went gangbusters here, riding up the golden line and opportunity here on the yellow line. Now it's kind of just it's not selling off here. It's kind of pulling back here a little bit. Nothing really too much to write home about. It was extended. It's kind of coming back in here. Completely fine for it to come back to this yellow line here and potentially hold here. And then we'll see how that one just kind of plays out, because that golden line opportunity is basically the 10-week line. And if you look here on the daily side, nothing too crazy too. There is quite a bit of red selling here coming through here. So that is something to be a little bit concerning about, but it's still above the 50-day, which is the guardrail that we like to follow here. The last time it hit there was basically in August of 25th. So we'll see how that one continues to play out. And also in the same component, like if you look between Credo and ALAB, kind of looks the same, but ALAB has already hit the 50-day and kind of bouncing off of it. With Credo potentially trying to do that, the pattern, I'm switching between Credo and ALAB, both quite phenomenal stocks and what they're potentially going to be gaining. Credo has higher earnings, I think. Yeah, has 80. Their sales is 82. ALAB is only 53%. So it's still phenomenal numbers. Like, this is just insane. You're basically comparing the best of the best, like number 1 and 2 in this kind of thing. And I think people play both sides here, honestly. As you see here with ALAB coming back to the 10-week here on the weekly side, bouncing off it, kind of coming off here, which is totally fine and normal. We switch back to the daily side. Yeah, bounce off that 50-day, which is equivalent to basically the 10-week line on the weekly side. Not with a crazy amount of volume this past week, which is good. Maybe we can kind of build a base here, get the bulls back in position, and push that sucker higher here. We'll see how that one plays out. Net is kind of one like Spotify had a great pop and then it slowly grinded, but now it's just kind of meandering, kind of a lost zombie. That linked to a report there. Oh, poor Rocket Company. This is one I had. I had to let it go because of look at all this selling here. Like look at this abrupt, like it last week it hit we thought it was gonna hit the 10-week line of opportunity. It barely kind of hit it, but then we kind of look into what happened this week. So one, two, three, four, five. Monday looked great. Tuesday, I'm like, yeesh. But there wasn't a lot of volume there on Tuesday. Coming to Wednesday, volume picked up. I was like, okay, it's kind of bouncing around in these good ranges here. Then coming to Thursday, Friday, below the 50-day, and then Friday substantially below the 50-day with an astronomical amount of volume, kind of like PLTR, with on the volume scale, but not below the 50-day. This is something that was concerning, and sadly I had to. I trimmed the position on Thursday, but then with Friday, the amount of volume and getting out at my stop loss, I had to sadly cut it. So this one definitely can re-engage because again, it did break up to all-time highs within then like 3 weeks. It kind of gave that back pretty quickly, coming back down there to this range. With look at that insane amount of selling pressure of just last week. VRT is another company that we looked at. Again, this is again within like the data centers, especially in the cooling side. Um, Really beautiful pattern here where this is clearly looks like a cup and a little bit of a handle. The handle doesn't look that fantastic because there's not much volume in this one. You would expect with this going from basically 142 to basically 168 in a given week with a little bit more volume here. So this is not significant, right? This is not, that's a great price action move, but the volume is really not there to kind of let you know that this was uh, really potentially large insiders or institutionals buying it up. Um, so this is definitely could fizz out fairly fast, or it could just flag up here and kind of pull back down and rest. VST, kind of someone that we looked at a lot before. It's kind of meandering up here. This list. GEV, same kind of thing. Energy kind of coming up here, kind of selling sideways. This is the one, CoreWeave. Again, AI, a lot of this is the repeating stuff. We have this really strong orange line showing that the trend was pointing lower here. It broke above it with significant volume here. What do I mean by that? Let me circle that for you right here. We came in with strong volume, and then we continue to kick higher here, which is fantastic. Oops. Which can kick higher here. Now we're kind of hitting that invisible wall here, which that was that previous move here back in the end of August. We'll see if that we can kind of get some more pressure to go through that. We do have pretty significant blue days in here that potentially could help it potentially go, excuse me, higher here. But again, we'll see how that one plays out. Ethereum. This is the ETF here. We're looking at here at iShares ETF. Kind of just meandering for the last like 2 weeks. Last 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks actually. It did have a pretty significant pullback. The volume was pretty in line what it was the other 2 weeks to help it kind of even out. But now it came back pretty strong last week, especially into the later end of Thursday, Friday. Is this a hedge on the government closure? Who knows? You can just tag anything into anything. MP was an interesting one as well. This is one we played for the potential ownership, or the U.S. literally bought an ownership into this company for resources. This thing is performing just fine. It's kind of it's a little sloppy, to be quite honest with you. If I have to dictate my work, it's a little sloppy. It's kind of bouncing around here. There isn't there is volume coming in, but nothing that we want to be like overjoyed about to the bullish side, and there's nothing to be too concerning about on the bearish side. So to kind of see this kind of bounce around here is completely normal, and we'll see in how that one plays out. GLD gold. Yes, this is definitely gold is not dead. Gold is a still a hedge, and especially with the government shut down and so forth, this is still a beautiful play here. This is a beautiful looking chart here. Like this, the purple box here showing the box of purgatory and just kind of just slowly just being patient here and then seeing that breakout. Look at that just blue, 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 blue volume here, kind of kicking higher here, going breaking above 318, coming out all the way to almost 360-ish, 358. That's a beautiful pattern. Basically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks up. We're talking about gold here. This is not an AI company. They didn't say something like, "Hey, AI, we're using AI for gold mining or something." They probably are, but like I meant in the sense of like this is a gold ETF. Like this is just trading the commodity of gold. Um, Beautiful run there. Really want to highlight the monthly chart here. Like look at this. This is going back to 2013, 2011. Look at this. This has been in a base, just this base right here at kind of similar here around 184 here, and it just kind of skyrocketed here. If we look at this base here, this is a monthly chart, sorry. So this is basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish months here. And it was just in there, and it just this overall run here basically started in what is this, the late stages of 20, they're basically the beginning of 24, and it's just been literally gangbusters up, right? Like that's pretty phenomenal looking chart. SoFi. Definitely the one I need to do more homework on. This one has been pretty interesting to say the least. Last week didn't do perform too well. It kind of did sell off basically almost every day into the closing of the week, basically getting to the lower part of the 50-day, which is the golden line here. There isn't a significant amount of large increasing volume, but the selling pressure was definitely on there because the trend basically topped out here on the 25th of September. And then ever since then, kind of been slowly going down and just really just not performing to the top tier of SoFi. And it's showing strong signs of composite rating and RSI reading. This could be a potential like level to look at. So what we're going to do here is we're going to see if it could stay in this range here, maybe consolidate. We don't want to see any more further selling. But yeah, we'll look at that. Jordan Scott, hey, futures or crypto we looking? Is it Monday? Yep. I feel you, Jordan. There's definitely the weekends get a little boring with no excitement, right, within the markets. We can look at this stuff. We can look at SPY and QQQ. What cryptos are you preferencing of? Speaking of crazy moves, let's look at Oracle. Of course, Oracle had that crazy, outlandish earnings beat and announcement. Kind of giving like half of it back with that huge run, kind of jagging in and around here, not really doing too much with it. A lot of people thought I was going to flag and then skyrocket higher here. Kind of just coming back to the 21-day, and we'll just see how this one plays out. The one I kind of posted about a little bit was this is Duolingo. I call this a potential double bottom here. Buying some longer dated calls on this. Let's see how this one plays out. It's been performing okay. I wasn't expecting for it to jump back up to $500 immediately, but just keeping an eye on it, especially doing it with calls. If it comes back and pulls back pretty substantially, you have to be very careful that and kind of keep things on a leash there. But I think with the fundamental story is pretty strong here with the ongoing earnings and then sales for the coming year. I like the pattern of the double bottom here. I like the pattern of it potentially breaking the trend higher here. And this has history of being a rocket ship at times. So anything's possible. This also can crash and go to zero, right? And then Bitcoin, yep, Jordan's basically talked about, said with crypto, Bitcoin making an all-time high um, this on Friday, and then coming into the weekend even stronger here. Where now we're seeing a really let's kind of hurry up and wait. Like, is this going to be like? Is this going to be just because the government shut down? Is this because of what reasons? Is this just because the administration is being more open to crypto? Is this more just because of like some of the comments that Coinbase made? So if you look at Coinbase, they were the leader. They had a huge market punch up too here coming into the end of the week here, especially the whole week they were just kind of riding higher as well, and they were basically meandering, doing next to nothing for some time here, just kind of holding around that 320 325 range, uh, and now with the end of the week, of course, with Bitcoin, a lot of the cryptos going higher, like with Solana, you had ETH, you had Bit, all these things going substantially higher there. Couple stocks that we were looking at, we kind of did talk about that. We did talk about Affirm a couple weeks ago before I got sick. This is again broke the 50-day like we talked about it. Kind of not getting back above it, not getting it back above water here, but we're not seeing a lot of selling pressure kind of come in. Excuse me. We're not seeing a lot of selling pressure coming in, but it's still living below the 50-day, and the 21 SMA is starting to curl over here. Overall, on the weekly side, it does have a lot of overhead, which we're usually not a fan of as well. But that overhead is long gone. That we call those. That's back in 2021, 2022 SPAC days. There was some stuff going around on X that SPAC 2.0 is starting back up, which great, love that for trading, but a lot of people got hurt with a lot of those SPACs that kind of went out because they weren't fully explained to a lot of people. I'm sure anyone who's watching probably remembers a SPAC that they participated in, bought, that basically went from like $11, $12 to like $50. I have a handful of these, from everything from like, what was that EV company that guy got, a Trevor Milton? What was that company called? Oh my gosh, I forgot of it now. I forget of it now. That basically went from, I did multiple videos on it too on my channel, and I was like, this is a rocket ship, but this looks kind of sketchy, guys. Um, uh, there's just so many, so many. I'm sorry, I just had a flashback of all the crazy SPAC days. But if you got a crazy SPAC story, let me hear it. I love hearing them. It was a crazy time. So yeah, Firm, it's basically in timeout zone. It's performing below the 10-week line here. We did talk about coin a little bit. That's actually getting out of looky into to the potential buying. It kind of missed the window sadly a little bit on the getting initially here, but that is kind of printing higher here. We talked about Duo. Quantum computing, right? We drew this beautiful line here, beautiful box of purgatory here, and around 18, and that thing just went gangbusters. The thing is I don't quite understand it a little bit. I think this is definitely a highly speculative Wolf on Wall Street kind of trade here. Their volume doesn't seem very high to see all this action. Like it doesn't make sense to me. But it doesn't have to make sense to make dollars sometimes. So the lesson learned for me on that. AMSC, American Semiconductor Corporation. We talked about this one. We got in a little bit here on the break around 40-ish, rode it back up, added a little more around 48, kind of got shaken out here a little bit and kind of divested it a little bit just to, um, excuse me, remove some of that potential protection there. Nuclear April leaders. These are some April leaders. Uber. Why is this in April? Oh, this is by Nick. All right, I have to update this. Unbookmark. Yeah. So Meta. Yeah, I didn't. Wow, I didn't know Meta didn't close that at the end of the week. Wow, I didn't know that. Meta got crushed. Okay, and Tesla. We kind of talked about. The comeback kid we call the CrowdStrike. That's a fantastic move. MSTR. This is the redheaded stepchild plane training down there. Uber. I don't know what they're still doing here. Dash is performing. I think Dash has better earnings. Is it 22%? Let's go to the weekly side. So 2026 is 20%, and then Uber is only 15. So it's not that bad, right? It's consistent there. We did talk about PLTR. How many people in chat are proud sharers of PLTR? If not, that's totally fine. You live in a great country of America, so you can choose what you want to buy or not. I did kind of want to highlight it again. I did talk about it towards the beginning of the stream, but it did kind of pull back again to the close of the week, especially on Friday. That was it gave back quite a bit. Again, the volume did jump up quite a bit. That is concerning. What are we looking for? We're really looking forward to kind of it hold around 168, 170. My throat is so itchy right now. To see if it can hold in that range here. If it can't, it's not going to be cut for my potential portfolio because there's up so much in it. But looking at for potentially to start potentially hedging it, because it's not extended at this point. It's definitely a high flyer, or whatever multiple you want to give to it, blah, blah, blah. But this is definitely one that is definitely coming out of the 50-day, hover around, bounce around a little bit, and then get that next boost and just punch higher here. My main list, we just talked about that. Let me see here what we see. It's basically the ones that I wanted to cover. Let me see. What is M? There's all these names that are just flying. What is it? BP Bed Bath and Beyond is still in the market? What? They're losing. Yeah, they're still losing a lot of money. Yikes. Bed Bath and Beyond. I didn't know that was still a company. What is that even trading at? Speaking of crazy stocks, BB, Bed Bath, and Beyond. What? It's over $12. Yikes. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that giant. Oh my gosh. That crazy C19 times trading around $85, $90, getting up to well over $100, and now just blah, 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 blah. Now sub $20. Wow. What was the Trevor Milton company? Let me find. Was it Trevor Milton? Is it? No, I'm thinking about. Maybe I'm not thinking of the right person. Yeah, but anyways, I gotta think of that. There's so many SPACs like that. Let me look up the top 10 SPACs in 2021. Let's see here. Soul Energy. DraftKings was Fisker's one. Open Door with Chamas. Open as they say is a short squeeze or whatever. Like not very helpful here. Fours, PF, DraftKings. I didn't know DraftKings was that. Deeper dive. Let's go. Was it Lucid Motors was the one? No. I think that was. What is Lucid at? Lucid's at $25. Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow. $572. Whoa. I remember those days. Blue on SoFi was of that Matterport, ChargePort, charge CHPT. Yeah, look at the gosh, man, was it desktop? Was it Desktop Metals one? DM? Is that still desktop? Is that still around? I don't know. Fun times for sure. Yeah, that is those horror stories of those SPACs. The market does get that sometimes, right? So let's just go quick. Just in the last week, the best performing stuff was genomics and Bitcoin. Basically at 8%. Bitcoin miners. Biotech is coming back. Like biotech's, I need to do more of a deep dive on biotech stuff here. Look, you have. Wow, there's biotech is so risky sometimes, especially with the clinical trials and so forth, and a lot of them don't make any money. Like this one is losing money, of course. Sales, there's negative 98%. How do you get negative 98%? Negative 8% sales, negative 8%, a plus 120, but they're losing money. Okay, good for them. No data. They're losing 45%, and they're losing 168% of earnings. They're only making 50K. These are fleas. This is the spot on the duck's butt, or the dog's butt, wherever they call that expression is. Yeah, that's crazy. Let me see. Is there any stocks that anyone else want to look at out there? I'm just gonna look around here a little bit. Right, that's a Bitcoin, right? That's a beautiful move there. Let's see here. What's ARM doing? I haven't heard of ARM holding. What is ARM doing? Wow, okay, it's still in my little box of purgatory here. Not really doing much of anything. No volume. This thing barely gets traded. Wow. I remember this was such a high flyer too, especially over here when it was like $77 popping up higher here. That's pretty crazy. I didn't know it was that underperforming here. Etsy. Oh yeah, that was a great stock during. Oh wow. Okay, no, this is not Etsy. ESTY. Why isn't Etsy not coming up? Oh, there we go. Sorry, I spelled it wrong. Okay, wow. Like, yeah, this is around the C19 stuff. Like, Etsy was blowing up because everyone was selling trinkets and doodads on their site. Wow, it's doing okay. Like they're making money, but they're only going to be growing sales at less than 2% next year. But looks like they're boosting their earnings, which is great. Love to hear that. They're looking for 2.4 earnings is basically what they are equivalent. That's interesting, but their sales is just kind of really dipping off here. And let me go to the daily side if I can see something here. They clearly, what did they announce there, my friend? Something happened here. Like this is a huge move, basically going from 64 all the way up to 75 here, like with almost $11. But literally the next day giving it back, and then now there's something clearly going on there. Um, Maybe someone trying to take a private or something. Who knows? I'm clearly speculating on that one. This is pretty interesting to see kind of bouncing in and around here. Let me see what we're seeing here about Etsy um, on the stock market. Mm. They're getting ChatGPT. What am I reading here? Spotify and no, sorry, Shopify, Etsy just got a surprise boost from ChatGPT. Etsy watches can apparently turn into OpenAI. Etsy moves as a beating advantage. Not a clue. Yeah, there's clearly again with the whole AI movement, right? Like anything can move, but this is it's definitely a trend change. Because you're seeing the line here basically it's trying to change, meaning that hey, basically from this high of like this is December of 23, and it's just been in a downward trend, and now really just kind of breaking out of it basically in the June July timeframe of summer, kind of trading sideways here, now getting a pretty substantial boost on the bull side. Could this turnaround story? Yeah, this is definitely going to come down to knowing some the understanding of things. I usually don't like these kind of stocks that have a lot of overhead previous stuff, and a little bit of a drama. This thing definitely could potentially kind of run up back up to 80, but the real levels to look to is around $90 to see if it can get back up to that high back in the basically December of 23. It's kind of strange because if you remember what happened in 23, we go to like let's go to SPY, and we go into December of 23. Yeah, right here. It basically kind of started this overall bull run that we've been seeing. Um, this thing is it kind of broke out of this little previous little cup here, got some momentum and just kind of skyrocketed higher, and it's just kind of been in that. It's a like December of 23. I remember very distinctively just because of that reason. NIO, yes, NIO is one I haven't heard forever. Wow, that's some flashbacks here. NIO kind of coming in through here. Yeah, these are a lot of the fundamentals look good here, right? Like the company still doesn't have positive earnings, but the sales growth is going up pretty substantially here, basically 39%. This is a NIO is the like the Chinese competitor to Tesla, correct? Like I remember this one very well. Uh, this is one that was very heavily traded. Is this the one that Buffett owns as well, if I remember right? This is interesting. I like the composite rating and RSI rating are looking better than Etsy for sure. Um, the earnings are kind of good, but it is somewhat of a Chinese name, so we have to be a little bit careful and a little bit those numbers could be a little bit more whimsical, and how those are spent. But excuse me, if this can maybe get some momentum going, which it's clearly trying to, because it's definitely stopped bleeding here and is now just kind of just meandering and trading sideways here. It hit that previous high basically of what is that September of 24, so basically 12 months ago. It's breaking out to that new level here. Maybe you can see it push up basically above that $10 level, and so we'll see that one play out. And then ION, don't know, Pro Shares, S&P car battery materials. Okay, I didn't know they had this. This is cool. This is kind of interesting to see. This is definitely one. Okay, 2023. Wow, I didn't. This is. I just learned something new. Thank you, buddy. I didn't know that they had this ETF for who materials ETF. Yeah, that's a trend change there for sure. Like if we look at this right here, basically right here, um, basically where you just copied NIO, where like things changed here, and it's just been somewhat of a rocket ship going up here, get on gangbusters. On this is the weekly side, holding the 10 week line here, SMA, basically the golden line of opportunity. Yeah, that is, and now we're flirting with getting close to this potentially all time high. Would like to see this maybe consolidate a little bit. Like, I that's pretty astounding to see something like this kind of pull up here and just now trade sideways here a little bit. I'm actually going to be, I can add this to my list. How do I do that? Add to main list. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that one with me. And then you asked about, think about NB. Oh, why is it not? I can't search. 1 second. I have to exit there. There we go. There we go. NB. NB. What is this? NB. What is NB? This doesn't seem like it trades a lot. Explore natural development of minerals deposit in North America. All right, you're on to something, my brother. This is a beautiful potential forming of a cup. What we would like to potentially see this here is maybe trade sideways here a little bit, kind of bring it down here. Again, this is a beautiful cup, as you can see here. Now we want it to handle here. That's a astronomical amount of blue volume here coming into this play here. This is interesting to see. Um, like to see this again. That's a lot of movement in a very short period of time. So let's see if this can take it a little bit of a break, consolidate a little bit, and then push higher here. Or it can completely ignore that and can just continue to fly higher here. And then CCO, Clear Channel Outdoor Holdings. What is this? You're showing me names I've never heard before, my friend. This is a penny stock. Yeah. I'm not the best with these. These are just crazy speculative to me. Um, NB is, I got founding that MP, founded in Department of Defense, is a mining company. They usually started building the mine. Ah, okay. Yeah. MP is one. Yeah, yeah. We talked about materials there. Interesting. Okay. Clear Channel Outdoor Holding. What is this? Out of home advertising company in the United States and Singapore. The company operates in two segments, America and the airports. It provides advertising services through billboards, including bulletins, posters. What do you see on this one? Oh, not that one? Oh, CCJ. CCJ you're talking about? Yeah, this is beautiful. But this is a commodity, right? This is the commodity of like uranium, right? Yeah, this is the uranium fuel. I traded this one for quite some time. It's I don't do well with commodities because they don't trade like companies, and this is this. No, oh, no worries, my friend. I'm dyslexic, dude. I mess things up all the time. Um, yeah, CCJ. This is again. Yeah, this is a huge thing about the nuclear stuff, right? Like they're always talking about nuclear this, nuclear that. This is going to be more of a nuclear administrative and so forth. It's a beautiful chart. It's a beautiful chart. Like I haven't looked at this for a while. This was on my favorites on my main list for some time. I'm gonna actually add it back to my looking list to keep that in mind. And just going to add some price alerts because um, I think that the movement into nuclear is definitely something that is like, if you look at Okolo is okay, Okolo right here. This thing is gone gangbusters. Like, I remember when people were talking about it down here around 12. Like, this thing has been completely gone insane. This is a beautiful move here. I wish I had the call options that I knew. I know two people who I know. One person who still has his call options, basically around the 25 strike price, going out like 2 years, and then they're up like thousands of percent. A beautiful, beautiful thing again. But his wish was like, I wish I bought more. But that's the crystal ball Monday quarterbacking kind of scenario there. But this has been great. Thank you, my friend XO, for sharing this information. I really do appreciate this. This is really good stuff. It seems like you're doing a lot of your homework, though, which is like fantastic. I love that. And again, thank you for coming to share that. Let me see. Did I add that? What's the worst performers? Casinos. Like, ugh. Why does draft? Ugh. Yeah, DraftKings. I wish I can go to the stock. Will I go here? No, I guess I can't. So D King. What is it? DING? Uh, draft. There we go. Wouldn't you think that these stocks would be performing well during the football season and baseball playoffs and basketball starting back up? There's clearly something else going on here that we're not seeing here. Um, this is interesting, because that's a lot. That's a huge move. This whole week, there must have been like a short report or something going out about this. Let's just do a quick Google here. Draft Kings stock down. Do. Hmm. Oh, I see. Yeah, Kathy Wood loads up on DraftKings as predictive markets work. Is this because Robinhood is eating their lunch, maybe? I think it's just Robinhood eating their lunch. It's definitely Robinhood. If you look at Robinhood, that news came out. What was it? Not RH, not Restoration Hardware. Um, Hood. Um, what? Yeah, Hood came out with, I forget how much money was used in their predictive market or something like that. It was pretty astronomical, of how many people were using it, and it's just growing so much faster, and it's just really becoming the main staple for anyone for sports betting, investing, crypto, everything. It's just being a one-stop shop, and I think it's just taking out everyone's lunch, and that's just probably a good way to put at it. Because we talked about SoFi too, that it wasn't performing that well. Like, I don't know if it's gonna be a direct competitor of Robinhood, but it's kind of weird to see that because this is considered a financial consumer financial, and they're the top rated one. What is Hood considered? What is Hood? Oops. Boop, 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 boop. Hood is a capital markets industry. Oh, FUT, that's the Chinese one that we talked about. That. Yikes. Yeah, Hood is definitely the top of class for that one. What is the software? AppLovin, or I call it McLovin. This thing has just been came back from the dead. Like, this thing that everyone thought was going to be maxed out. Basically, what would that be? 520, and with a matter of 3 weeks, went back down to two. Basically, cut itself in half. Didn't do anything. Got a little of a pop, and now it's going gangbusters again. PLTR is just, this is things I just need to look at more. Life 360, that trades hardly anything. Riot platforms, nothing really there. I want to look at higher. What is clean, smart, and it doesn't look like a good chart. What we should do is do this. I forgot that they can do. Wait, how do I do that? Mini charts. There we go. Well, these are just for my stocks. Oh no, this is everyone's. This is. Oh, this is for my. Let's do it for themes. Artificial. Let's see what this one does. All right, PLTR we talked about just a little bit. AMD is one that's kind of trying to make a little comeback there. Intel, of course, is one that the is kind of just came back literally from the dead. Wolf, I don't really know what they do, honestly. Oracle, we talked about Microsoft, kind of just doing nothing. AI software, nothing to really talk about there. Blue. Oh, this is what is this company? I know what this company is. BBAI. This is Blue Enter. No, Big Bird or what's it called? BB. Big Bear. That's what it is. This was heavily pumped. I saw this go around the message boards and Reddit, and I saw a couple things on YouTube where people were pumping this one up. I'm gonna add this to the looking list to kind of keep an eye on it and see how. You see that I have an alert for it way up there and never triggered it. I need to look at when I potentially was looking at it first time. I need to start drawing those arrows on there. But yes, kind of wrapping things up here. If there's anything else from anyone's heart's desires, if you want me to take a quick looky-loo at anything, please let me know in the chat. If not, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. I really appreciate it. Um, we'll doing another live stream into next weekend. I hope everyone has a great trading week, investing. Um, just remember to cut losses fast is basically what I've learned over the times of just cutting losses and not getting too emotionally connected to your stocks. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, XO, for your fantastic comments via the live stream today. I greatly appreciate that. I wish everyone a blessed week, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.